This video is an explanation about how to go about answering and completing my early postmodern poetry stations, which is the last assignment this week underneath April 27th to May 1st, lessons and assignments. First off, if you click to expand the early postmodern poetry stations, you can read about them and you can see that there are two main documents that you're going to be working with, but you really need to come down here and click on view assignment in order to see the entire assignment and what to do with it. So you can see up here under your work, there's a document that you're going to be filling out, and that is the station's answer sheet. So you can see that this answer sheet looks a lot like what you would put on a clipboard and walk around my room writing on while you completed normal stations in the classroom. So there are 3 stations on page 1, and then 3 more stations on the back for the total, or page 2 for the total of 6 stations. So I'm going to click back to the assignment page and then click on this document underneath the instructions, and these are the actual stations. So this is what I would tape on the walls of my room if we were in the classroom. And there's a handy like quick guide over here, so you can click from station to station to station as we walk through. But starting with station 1, you're going to read about confessional poetry, and then click over here to the answer document and take some notes on confessional poetry. I would just take some bullet point notes. So for instance, the first couple of lines here about confessional poetry say that confessional poetry is the poetry of the personal, or I. This style of writing emerged in the late 1950s and early 1960s and is associated with poets such as Robert Lowell, Sylvia Plath, Anne Sexton, and W.D. Snodgrass. So if I click back over here, what I get from reading that first section is that it is personal poetry, and that it lasted from the late 1950s to the early 1960s. And then I can keep taking notes as I read here. There's much more to confessional poetry. There are some examples here. So you're just going to read and continue to take notes. And then you'll do the same thing as you read about imagism in station 2, and then the beat poems, or the beat poets in station 3. All right, so then when you're ready to complete stations 4, 5, and 6, you'll have to click over to those stations on the station sheet itself. These stations are a little bit different because you're actually reading some examples and analyzing them. So for station 4, you're going to read one out of these 2 confessional poems, either Love Letter by Sylvia Plath or The Ambition Bird by Anne Sexton. I've given you links here, so you can click on Love Letter if that's the one you choose to read, and then click on Sylvia Plath's picture, and it will take you to a page where you can read Love Letter. On the other hand, if you would rather read that on your phone, you can scan a QR code by opening the camera on your phone. And that's just if you feel like you're getting too many tabs open on your computer, or if you just prefer to read that on your phone. So say I'm going to read the Love Letter instead of Ambition Bird. I'm going to read through it here on this web page, and then I will click back to this station activity sheet. So the title, I would fill in Love Letter, making sure to put that in quotation marks because it is a poem, and then Sylvia Plath is the poet. Now I've got to answer these questions. First of all, how does this poet fit the definition of confessional poetry? And I just cite a specific line or phrase from the poem in my explanation. And so if I've forgotten what confessional poetry is, I've stacked station 4 for confessional poetry on top of station 1. So you can just scroll up here in your notes and read a little bit about it. And then choose a line that you think sounds confessional from Love Letter. Then I also ask you which element of postmodernism is most important to this poem. And so for that, you're choosing out of our 10 elements of postmodernism that we've been working with. To click all the way back over here and then back into my class page, I'm going to click on classwork. And then if you scroll all the way to the bottom, I have some reference materials here. So I have the elements of postmodernism as a document here if you need to open that and reference it as you complete this assignment. But to go back to the assignment sheet for one last time, you're going to type in your answers in these spaces for both the one confessional poem you choose, the one images poem you choose, and the one beat poem you choose, and analyze that. So when you're finished, you should be able to just click on the Postmodern Poetry Stations assignment and open this back up to make sure that it's complete and you've done your work, and then you can click on Turn It In and turn that assignment in.